Everybody ready? Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the January Elizabethton City Schools Board of Education meeting. Hope everyone had a wonderful holiday. Would like to give a very special welcome to Dr. Gardenauer, who is now on this side of the table as opposed to sitting out there. So happy to have him. Much like his predecessor before him, when Mr. Alexander became interim, he took off running. He set some lofty goals for the school system, and it was a good way to begin. And Dr. Gardenauer has done the same thing. We've gotten emails. He has lofty plans for the school system, and we're happy that this isn't just something that we're going to just scoot by for the next few months. He's got a plan in place and doing great things. So, welcome. If everyone would please stand, Dr. Gardenauer is going to lead us in the Pledge of the Flag in a moment of silence.
Let's have a moment of silence. Thank you. Attention, salute, pledge. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I should have mentioned that Dr. May is en route. Got held up at the hospital, and so when he's delivering babies, he's got to do what he's got to do. But he will be here momentarily. So if you see him walking in, that's where he is. It is time for citizens to speak in accordance with Board Policy 1.404. Anyone wishing to address the board, please come forward, state your name and your address. I am going to ask that each person speaking will please limit your comments to 5 minutes, and we will be keeping the time to 30 because we do have a lot of things on the agenda tonight. So if anyone wants to speak.
Very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you for letting me speak. I did speak at the last board meeting, and I gave you some handouts about my child that had been physically, mentally, and emotionally abused. And I was wanting a comment on what's taken place. I've done a lot of researching, and according to Board Bylaws 37-1-403, there's a time period once a complaint of abuse of a child is given to an authority figure in the school or the board, that this abuse be reported to the Department of Child Services.
If you don't mind, I'm going to stop you for a second. When you were here last month, you just talked about language, and you asked us to look into that. So Board Policy 5.502 states that whenever a complaint about an employee is made, it will be referred to the school administration for study and possible solution. So Dr. Gardenauer did that, met with you, we talked about it. If you want to bring up something new, then that needs to be in the appeal, because this is just a forum for you to let us know things. This isn't just, we have to be very careful how this is formed. If you need to speak with Dr. Gardenauer again, then you need to do that.
Yes, but I just wasn't comfortable with the results I got, because my notation said that my son had only been harassed and that they had found no actions. I was just wondering who investigated. Was the parents and children interviewed? And the committee, was it a 3-member committee? Was it a 1-person? Did you give me at least that? Did you form a committee, and a committee did an investigation with parents?
If you would like to allow the board to hear your appeal, you need to follow the policy as I suggested to you in our meeting.
Yes, sir. Yes, you handed me a blank piece of paper and told me to go ahead and write it down. But yes, from what I understood from you, even if I appeal, it's not going to be heard.
That is not true.
No, our policy says if after such a procedure is followed, there is still a question or complaint, the matter shall then be referred in writing to the board, which shall determine whether it will hear the individual or group. So if there's some other things that you want us to do, then that's my.
So in front of the media and the audience and the board, if I appeal, you will let me address this issue again?
We will the board will determine that. We will have a call meeting, and we will look at
Would that be a yes or a no, ma'am?
I don't know what you're asking us yet. So when you put it in writing,
Uh-huh.
this board will meet and we will look at it.
Okay. So it'll be more of a form instead of just a blank piece of paper.
I'm guessing you can write anything you want on that piece of paper.
Okay. All right, because I wasn't satisfied with the findings in any way. I am done, yes, I have spoke on it, and there is a gentleman that needs to speak in this public forum. Mr. Hoseclaw, would you please, sir?
Absolutely. And please state your name and address, please.
My name's Wesley Hoseclaw, 824 Riverview Drive. And the reason I'm here today is when I read the newspaper clipping about the verbal abuse and physical abuse from the coach of Elizabethton High School football team, I felt like I was reading what happened to my own son. That's how close it was to what happened to my son. When I brought before the school board exactly the superintendent, virtually nothing was happening except my son was removed from the football team, and we had to remove him from school because he was getting bullied by the other football players. So this is a continual thing for me. This happened back in 2011. When I read that clipping, it was like my son was going over to do it again and again. And I don't think our children should be under such abuse, verbal and physical, just for a game, just to see somebody's stats or his prestige.
I'm sorry, did you say that you brought this before the board in 2011?
I brought it before the superintendent of schools.
I thought you said before the board because I was on the board in 2011.
No, the superintendent. I'm sorry if I misspoke.
I would have remembered that.
Okay. But there was nothing done to my satisfaction, nothing at all, except for my son being removed from the team because I reported it. But thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm Tony Briggs, 396 Cripple Creek Loop in Watauga. As some of you may not know, I am the president of the Cyclone Touchdown Club, and I had two stepchildren that played for Coach Whitten. The Coach Whitten that I know, he's not a bully. He expects the best out of the kids, so he does push them. At one incident, Coach Whitten took out of his money, went to a football camp, and stayed with one of his players because he couldn't afford it. That's not a bully. There's been, for the past 6, 7 years, he has, during summer workouts, he's taken them bowling, wetlands, pool parties, and that's the Coach Whitten I know. I spoke to Caleb. Many of you know Caleb Bailey. He's my stepson. And I asked him, I said, Caleb, what is your opinion on Coach Whitten? He said, Coach Whitten's a fine man. He said he's the type that will get on you when you need to be get on, but he'll come and have lunch with you. So, you know, I've heard the complaints already, and I see what it's doing to some of these younger kids. I've talked to several football players and several parents, and I've heard no complaints. So that's just my 2 cents. I appreciate your time. Thanks.
My name's Rick Walters. I'm a local businessman. I reside at 103 Sherwood Drive here in Elizabethton. And I'm here tonight to just basically, I'd like for you guys to commend a man in this town that is doing so much for our kids, and that's Coach Sean Whitten. My son played for him a couple years ago. My daughter's a junior at the high school. I have a unique perspective. I get to see Coach Whitten. For those of you who don't know, I announce the football games for the junior high teams, for the freshman team, for the junior varsity team. So I'm out at the field a lot, and I'm watching the football games, and I'm seeing how on Friday nights I'm helping with the music, playing it too loud most of the time. But I see Coach Whitten's demeanor on the sidelines. I see his interaction with the kids. Usually If there's a football game at that stadium, Coach Witten's there. Y'all don't pay him to come out to the games and watch the junior high kids play. And Jason Holly helps with the little kids, the kids that are not even in middle school yet. Coach Witten's out at the field watching those kids play. And when you see the faces light up of those kids, when they see Coach Witten's coming out to watch our game, or when they get to run through the tunnel out to that sideline. Ladies and gentlemen, there's people on the sidelines all the time. There's girls on the sidelines all the time. There's managers. Coach Witten presents himself in a professional manner every time I see it. And I'm very proud. Like, I didn't play for Coach Ryder. I'm not from Elizabethton. I grew up, but I think as a businessman, as a professional person, I see his demeanor with these kids. And I have commanded National Guard units. I've taken troops to war. And for those of you who don't know, as you walk out onto the field at West Point, there's a saying that says, "On the field of friendly strife are sown the seeds that in other fields and other days will reap the fruits of victory." Myself playing for a tough-nosed football coach prepared me to take those guys to war. Coach Witten is a fair, honest man. He is an asset to this community, and I wouldn't have any problem having my daughter on the sideline with him, with having my kids have been on the sideline with him, and I see the things that he does for this community, and he is an asset to this community, and I appreciate your time.
You can just come up. Anybody can come up.
I just want to say that my
I
grandson,
need your name and your address,
oh, I'm
please.
sorry, Patsy Rash, Johnson City, Tennessee.
But your full address, please. This is for our records.
Okay, 115 Plaza Avenue, Johnson City, Tennessee.
Thank you.
But Stephen is my grandson, and my grandson told me that Coach Witten shoved him. And my son has taught that boy to tell the truth all his life. They took him to church, and he lived down the country, and he even moved up here to go to Elizabethton High School and be a football player. He loved football. And I believe my grandson. But on behalf of all the children, and if there's more than one parent and one child coming out, I mean, how can everybody be lying? And I'm for the children. I don't believe no mother, no father, no coach, no teacher should shove a child or threaten it or cuss it. That's my belief. And I just think that there should be some discipline somewhere. And everybody can't be lying. I mean, if one person was lying, you could say, you know, there's a lot of people that does that. But I mean, you know, if one person was saying it, but if you've got several parents coming out and saying this, how could everybody be wrong? That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Danny Smith. I live at 539 Division Street here in Elizabethton. More or less a lifelong resident of Elizabethton. I'm a physical therapist, board-certified sports clinical specialist, and proud to say that I've been involved with Cyclone Athletics since 1977, when Coach Dave Ryder gave me the opportunity to be on the sidelines. Here to speak in favor of Coach Sean Witten. I've known Sean since he first came to Elizabethton. I watched him grow and to develop into a very fine man. I watched him grow and develop as a football player at Elizabethton High School and at Virginia Tech, and followed him with his coaching career as a graduate assistant at the University of Tennessee. And he's done a fine job everywhere he's been. We have a rather unique perspective in sports physical therapy in that we get these injured players one-on-one. Sometimes they're behind closed doors or behind closed curtains. And sometimes these players will tell us things that they won't tell anyone else. They won't tell other coaches, teachers, players, parents, whatever. And I can honestly say that in the time that Sean Witten has been a coach at Elizabethton High School, I have never had a football player utter a word in opposition to Coach Witten. The way he coaches, the way he handles players, and what he does for these players. He loves these players, loves each and every one of them. And as was previously stated, if he needs to get on you, he'll get on you. If he needs to put his arm around your neck or your shoulder and love on you a little bit, he'll do that. But the reason he's doing that is to make these players better men, better people in the community. Sean is, if there's one word to describe him, it's intense. He has a goal, he knows what he wants to do, and he's able to do it. I've seen him do amazing things with what you could term a mediocre athlete and turn them into a very good or even a great athlete through his coaching prowess and how he manages these kids. But the players love him. They love his coaching style. They love what he does. The players will do everything that they possibly can to do the kinds of things that they need to do as football players at Elizabethton High School. As previously stated, he's a definite asset to the community. He's an asset to the school system, and I dare to say that 99 and 44, 100% of the players that have played for him would say the same thing. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Kibo Scout. I live at 265 Slade Road, Elizabethton. Danny Smith, have nothing but respect for you. Coach Ryder, have nothing but respect for you. But it was my boy that he cussed and he poked. Okay? And if you don't believe me, you talk to him and you look in his eyes and you see if he's a liar or not. And if you can live...
Kibo, you need to address the
Okay,
board.
I'm sorry. If you, as a parent, can live with this, the cussing and the abuse, God have mercy on you, is all I got to say. It's all wrong.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you. It's time to move on. It's time to approve the consent and regular agenda. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Dr. Gardenauer, Superintendent reports.
We have a lot of great things going on in Elizabethton City Schools. Some of the neat things that are going on right now are on the 20th of January, we will be having the State Department of Education coming to tape our teachers.
You're just in time. We're getting here's some good news.
Tape our teachers. They're going to use their instructional strategies all over the state. We're really excited about the State Department recognizing us as a small school system with that. We're working on our 5-year plan right now in a draft for our first budget workshop that will be before next board meeting. We have been preparing for the flu. I'll say that we are so thankful to Mountain States Health Alliance for supplying masks for us just in case we have a flu epidemic or outbreak in our area. And we've been putting together a hand washing program for all of our elementary school children especially, and we're excited about that. Update on telemedicine. We're very close to having that in place. We're waiting for the stethoscopes to come from Britain for us to be able to get started, but we've had an update meeting with them here recently, and we will be having another one probably next week to make sure that we're getting ready for that. And most exciting of all, we received our growth money numbers, and our growth money came in from us taking in tuition students, and we're not putting an estimate on that right now, but we think it'll be a significant amount of growth funds for the school system.
Before you move on, can you talk a little bit more about the from the state about being a small school system? It's exactly what that is.
Okay.
More details, maybe.
Sure. The State Department has chosen one large, one medium, and one small school system to represent the state. And they wanted to come in and look at instructional strategies and practices in one of each. I'll be representing our school system later on, the next couple of weeks, at the State Department. The 3 administrators from the state will be representing the state, talking about RTI and talking about instructional practices. And then part of that is they come and tape our teachers and take that to show other teachers across the state what they need to be doing in the classroom. And I think that's a testament to what's going on in our classrooms every day. We have excellent teachers who are using excellent strategies, and we're being recognized statewide for that. So I think it's a great promotion for our school system for what we're doing. So we're excited about that. That'll happen the 20th.
Thank you.
Okay, it's time for the personnel update. Okay. She'll keep me straight, I'm sure. Thank you. Resignation, Allison Price, Harold McCormick custodian, effective 1/5/15. Transfer, Haley Gregory from Harold McCormick part-time assistant to the teacher to T.A. Duggar, part-time assistant to the teacher, effective 1/6/15. Suzanne Watson from T.A. Duggar, part-time assistant to the teacher to Harold McCormick, part-time assistant to the teacher, effective 1/6/15. Leave of absence, Laura Beth Fair, Westside teacher from 4/20/15 to 5/25/15. Kristen Waite, T.A. Duggar teacher from 4/6/15 to 5/25/15. And the only other part we have is, Mr. Fleming, could you give us a little report about your recent visit for your training?
Had a great training with the school board new member workshop, and it was very good training, and enjoyed it, and it's good information for me.
Okay, excellent. That's all. Thank you.
Anybody else have any reports or anything? All right. Time to move on to the regular agenda. The first item on the agenda. Oh, Ms. Perkins, did you think of what you wanted before I move on?
Yes, ma'am, I did, and I realized after I was going to add something to that Dr. Gardner was correct, and I'm not, because it was going to be a personnel update, and we have sent out a letter offering a position to somebody that they haven't accepted, so he was right in not including
Okay.
it.
Okay. First item on the regular agenda is to approve contract of employment between Corey R. Gardenauer, EDD, and the Elizabethton City Board of Education. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a second? Thank you. Have any questions or comments about the contract? I'll give you all just a little bit of background. I've only been involved in this one other time, and previously when we had an interim director, we just basically took the previous one and kept things basically the same. So this is historically what we have done.
Just for public record, the termination of the contract is,
I believe it is dated, it's been a day or two since I've read that. I guess whenever we hire the permanent
okay.
director.
But to go no further
Okay.
than June 30, 2015.
I'm sorry, what?
Do not extend past June 30, 15.
June 30th,
Is that-
right.
So that means when we start our workshops, we have a deadline. We have something to work towards. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
You're fired.
I believe there's a little more into this, but, you know. Anybody have anything? Item on the floor is to approve contract of employment between Corey Gardenauer and the Elizabethton City Board of Education. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Well,
Thank you.
you're here. Next item is approve bid 2014-2014-05 SN, the purchase of fresh produce from Reinhardt Food Services for the remainder of the bid period July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2015. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. This is a result of, I believe we had a contract with Mary's Salads, and they went out of business. So the next lowest bidder is what we're voting on now. Anybody have any questions or comments? All right. Item on the floor is approved bid 2014-2014-05-SN, the purchase of fresh produce from Reinhardt Food Services for the remainder of the bid period July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2015. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to approve suspension of the special purchases sections, lines 15 through 21 of Board Policy 2.805, the purchasing to allow the system to make direct material purchases for use in the completion of the stadium complex and the music room classroom addition at Elizabethton High School. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Dr. Arnauer.
All this will allow us to do is to purchase items directly as a school system. It will allow us to save the sales tax money that we would normally have to pay on that. And we will be reporting those items to the board every month. And Mr. Van Huss, if you want to address this a little further.
Also, I believe you have good news for us.
Yes, I do. The Planning Commission approved the site plan for the band room, music room, 7-0, so we're excited about moving forward with that project as well. And what I would say is it ties in with what we're talking about today, and I don't know, we may need to do this same procedure with the band room, but it will just give us the opportunity to save some money. As you know, if a non-public entity buys, any materials, they of course have to pay sales tax for that. In our situation, and you have a list there in your board packet, that's not an all-inclusive list. That's just a list that will give you an idea. And what we would propose, if you allow us to do this, each month in your board packet, you'll get, similar to what you did this week, you will get a payout and exactly line by line, each item, what's been spent, those kinds of things. You'll get kind of a synopsis of what's been done that month and what's coming up, as well as a schedule that's shrunk down to about a 4-week period roughly. And then also, if you allow this, we will pull those items out and list those separately. Here are the materials that we purchased. And again, it's all been already bid, all that's been taken care of. It just truly allows us, to stretch the pennies. So we would appreciate if you would allow us to do that.
Mr. Van Huss, basically this is part of that 4.3 that we approved, and this is just pulling items out of that.
That is correct.
We've already approved
It would
to purchase to save us sales tax.
Absolutely, yes, sir. It wouldn't stretch, wouldn't go anything beyond the scope of that project, the money that's already been allotted by the school system.
Mr. Van Huss, this is in line with Tennessee Code annotated, correct?
Correct. We've spoken with our auditors as well as our attorney.
Okay.
And their only concern was the fact that we had this policy in place, so that's why we're asking you your consideration tonight.
Do you have a date for the initial construction of the band room and the classrooms, when they're going to begin?
Well, we hope to certainly start that in early March. The next process will be similar to the band room. GRC will start putting the specific items out for bid. Those will be collected, opened, and then just as before, they'll bring to the board. They'll bring a maximum amount not to exceed, and then the board will vote on that amount. And if that's approved, then we hope to start in March, according to Mr. Weems. Isn't that right, Mr. Weems?
Oh, we didn't see Mr. Weems sitting there. Hello. And we will be having a groundbreaking, I'm guessing, for the band room?
Absolutely.
Good, I love that.
We will.
Putting more shovels.
More shovels.
Can we have it a little bit later?
Are there any shovels left in Elizabeth?
Bring your own shovel.
Bring your own shovel.
BYOS.
I have a request. Can you make it after work hours for most people, or sometime at lunchtime, or not at?
We'll do it any time.
I don't. Did you?
I don't mind.
We need to do it at lunch so Dr. May can be
shovels,
there.
Yeah.
And mine's in my office.
Bill and I are like not retired. Just so
Will.
And Rita's not retired.
I just leave.
We'll be more than happy to work with you.
Anybody else have any other questions? All right. Item on the floor is to approve suspension of the special purchases section, line 15 through 21 of Board Policy 2.805, purchasing to allow the system to make direct material purchases for use in the completion of the stadium complex and the music room classroom addition at Elizabethton High School. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Fantastic. Last item, approve replacement of pool heater and installation from Train utilizing TCPN contract not to exceed $30,000. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
This is a great relief to the school system and myself for all the calls I've received about the pool. This is a very important part of our community outreach, and we're thankful. The initial estimates we received were very high, and we were able to work with an energy provider that we've used on other projects, and that proved to really help us cut the cost down to a manageable number to where we could really look at replacing the pool heater. So, Mr. Trent, would you like to talk to us a little bit about that?
Basically, we're replacing the pool heater. It's beyond repair. It's, as a matter of fact, it was pretty scary when we got in there. We pulled it apart. It was so. We're replacing the pool heater. They're addressing a couple of issues as well as far as the pump. The combustion air in the area is not enough, so the old unit was running rich. So no, we're not only fixing it, we're trying to fix it right. And if you'll approve this tonight, we'll move forward. They said the estimated completion on this would be about 4 weeks out once we approve it.
Thank you.
I'd like to also thank Milligan College. I believe they've been letting us use their pool.
Yep.
So as much as it pains me to say something nice about Mark Fox, we want to thank Mark Fox for letting us use Milligan's pool, and Jess Sutton, he's the swim coach. They've been very nice to share. That was very nice. We have good neighbors. And I told them we hope to, one day we can return the favor for anything. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Is this replacement part of another contract, or was this put out to bid? I mean, is this like an ongoing contract, or was this put out to bid?
It's a part of.
It's a part of an existing contract? Okay.
I'm going to let Mr. Trent. I've slept since we did all this a long time ago.
Well, with Train, we can really use two different things. You know, the board several years ago approved them to be our energy service overseer, exactly what the term is, I'm not sure, but they help us with anything as far as our heating, lighting, and things like that we can do that. But this TCPN is what we're purchasing this off of, which it's already gone through a bid process. Ms. Wilson could probably explain this a lot better than myself, but it has went through the process. That's under the TCPN, and everything in this goes back through Train, their department, and everything. It's checked off to make sure that nothing exceeds what was bid out on the TCPN contract.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any contract before Mr. Trent walks off? As he's walking off. Anybody else have questions, comments? All right. Item on the floor is to approve replacement of pool heater and installation from Train utilizing TCPN contract not to exceed $30,000. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Before we end the meeting, the boards will hold their first workshop pertaining to recruitment, selection, and employment of Director of Schools on Thursday, January 22nd at 11 a.m. here in the boardroom. So hope everybody on the board will be there for that. This will just be our first meeting. At the end, and for information only, is our little guide from our attorneys on how to do this process if we choose to do it ourselves. So we've got several big decisions, but we thought lunch might be a nice relaxing way to start seeing each other often. So next regularly scheduled board meeting will be Thursday, February 19th, 2015 at 6:30 in the Mac Pierce boardroom. We will be having our first budget workshop at 5:30, so we hope everybody can be there for that. So we'll have the budget workshop at 5:30, regular board meeting at 6:30. Can I get a motion to approve? To adjourn. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Good evening. Thank you.